How to succeed in specialty applications. Information, advice and guidance for foundation doctors applying for specialty. This is the fourth in a series of webinars designed for Foundation Year 2 trainees to assist in their career decision planning. This particular webinar focuses on identifying your post-Foundation Year 2 goals, sub-goals, and the supporting actions to achieve them. We will be focusing mainly on the application to specialty, but a lot of information will be applicable to those of you applying for fellowships, F3 charity work, locums, etc. In order to help you plan, it is important to know the timescales you will need to work. First steps is to understand the timeline for both the specialty recruitment and the academic recruitment, which is summarized on this slide. It is important to note that applications for academic recruitment begin in October. If you are applying to an academic training program, ACF, you must also apply to a specialty training program. Why? You will be following a clinical specialty alongside your ACF, and you will need to meet the acceptance threshold for both ACF and specialty training, also known as clinical benchmarking. If you don't get an ACF, you have an option to fall back on. Please refer to the webinars online for career exploration for all information on ACFs, timelines for applying, and accessing more information from relevant sites such as the National Institute of Health Research, NIHR, and Oriel, where these opportunities are advertised. But what about non-specialty option timelines? This information was given in the previous webinar, and you can find the recording and slides on our website. Each option will have different key application dates, so check out the links now and add any key dates into your planning. In terms of specialty applications, a range of selection methods are being used, most of which were delivered virtually last year. You'll need to look at the website to get an up-to-date picture of the processes this year. We are now going to go through some of these methods in some further detail. To begin with, you will find on the specialty training website a list of specialties and their arrangements for the selection processes. Expect there to be a lot of virtual assessment. You will note that there is a Plan A and a Plan B. The process that is expected, and Plan B will only arise if the COVID situation should change and backup plans are needed to be used. So what is the purpose of assessment? This is where your hard work in stage 1 and 2 will begin to pay off as you prepare to complete the application form and prepare for the additional selection processes. What will the recruitment panel be looking for in a candidate, and what evidence do you have in terms of ability, motivation, and fit? Your job is to confirm to the selectors that you are the right person for the specialty, and in doing so, you will minimize any fears that you may and they may have about your suitability. In terms of application, what evidence do you have that matches up to what the person's specification requires? Self-assessment may be utilized for shortlisting and/or interview sections on Oriel. Evidence may have to be uploaded if self-assessment is to be verified. In the case of non-specialty training posts, there will always be some clues on the job ad or job description. Different organizations will present the information in different ways, but the process of matching yourself up to what they're looking for is the same. If your application form has white space, you may be given questions, scenarios, or a personal statement in which to demonstrate your suitability to make it onto the shortlist. Think of what is relevant to the organization or the specialty from your past, fairly recent experience. More information on how to tackle this will be given later. The remainder of the presentation will look at the following selection processes: MSRA test, portfolio, clinical scenarios, and interviews. The multi-specialty recruitment assessment, MSRA test, is being used by most specialties now and is broken down into two groupings: professional dilemmas and clinical problem solving. There are practice tests online, and the BMA has run a course to help you practice and prepare for these tests. Please look out for when they plan to repeat this course. There is some disquiet about how helpful the practice tests are, with the RCGP declining to endorse them. Please bear this in mind when you are paying for these tests. The MSRA blueprint document outlines each of the tests, and has an illustrated example to help you see what the setup of the test will be. Links are given here to the official information given about these tests with the resource bank for those applying for GP training. The next 2 slides explain the structure in more detail. The professional dilemma structure tests the core competencies of professional integrity, coping with pressure, and empathy and sympathy. The clinical problem-solving structure measures ability to apply clinical knowledge and make clinical decisions in everyday practice. Scenarios based on foundation level of clinical practice and examples drawn from a grid of about 20 specialty areas. Some specialties will use portfolio assessment as a selection method. This may be virtual with requested sections uploaded. Further key points to assessment are outlined on this slide. Clinical scenario assessments will again be virtual. The clinical scenario will involve a role play actor playing patient, relative, colleague, similar to an OSCE, and will involve testing the following skills: communication, working under pressure, interpersonal, empathy, and dealing with a difficult situation. You receive a quick brief on individuals before meeting them. The interview. Usually 20 to 30 minutes in length, this is where you promote the specific values, experience, and achievements that will make you stand out and convince the panel that you will meet the training expectations of this specialty. What examples illustrate your key attributes and experience? What stories can you tell? Practice as much as possible. Types of questions. Rather than thinking about specific questions, think about the types of questions. It's not all about behaviors. Think about preparing for the questions in this order. Understanding. Could be understanding of clinical procedures or personal skills, for example, teamwork. Let's focus on that for a moment. What makes for a good teamwork? You have to know what all the components of a good team working are, as we'll review what you have seen other people do in teams, good and bad. Self-description. How do you see yourself? What are your strengths and weaknesses in relation to the role? Self-awareness, ability to develop and listen to feedback. Scenario. Think of the scenarios that are likely to come up in your specialty training. What have you seen other people deal with? How would you deal with it using the skills you examined above? Behaviors. When have you demonstrated similar skills? What stories can you tell to illustrate these skills? This is your evidence. We will look at how you can structure these stories to maximum effect in a moment. Experience. Now you know what things to talk about when asked about your experience. These are most likely to come up in the portfolio interview. Motivation. See the next slides about mnemonics. Depending on the question, there are different ways in which you might answer the question, which are illustrated on the following slides. Camp. Camp is particularly useful when you're asked questions about your suitability for and commitment to specialty. For example, why do you wish to train in this specialty? Spies. Spies is particularly useful for those questions asking you how you would manage a particularly sensitive situation. For example, describe how you would manage a situation where you see a colleague getting angry with a patient. Bearer. Bearer is particularly useful when you're asked to describe a situation where you've carried out a particular process, responded to a particular situation, for example. E.g., describe a situation where you have had to, etc., etc. Here are some useful tactics to remember. Stay focused and slow down. Have some structure, even if it's retrospective. Give yourself thinking time. Repeat, comment, or ask, can I have a minute? Think of the key features before you talk. Seek clarification. Are you looking for an example of? Ask for feedback. Is this example useful? When in a hole, stop digging. Sorry, I've got a bit lost. May I start again? Don't obsess over body language. Simple enthusiasm is the best way to protect yourself positively. So after all your hard work in preparing for application and interview, you find you've been made an offer. Fantastic. Key points are you have 48 hours to accept, hold, or decline or withdraw your application. Further information is available on the specialty website. However, if you are unsuccessful, it's worth reflecting on your performance. What do you need to improve, develop? Do you require further experience to be more competitive? How could you obtain this? A fellowship or staff grade role, perhaps? What other options are open to you now? How could you make the most of this situation? The PGMDE FAQ section gives information on general and specialty recruitment queries. So to evaluation and next steps. So what is your next step to meet your post-foundation year 2 goals? Reflection, research, practice? What will you do and when? Remember to plan around the specialty recruitment timelines. And here are some key links to develop your understanding of the specialty recruitment process further. Remember, if you wish to discuss your career planning in more detail, you can book a one-to-one careers appointment with a member of the PSU careers team by completing the application form found by clicking on this link. Good luck with your specialty recruitment applications.